we have Rangers General Manager Chris Young with us here on the D&M Leasing Hotline. CY, thanks so much for the time as always. Tough road trip there, but ends on a high note last night. What are your takeaways from the last two series?
Well, certainly it was a tough road trip, and very disappointed to come home 1-6 on the trip. I did feel like we were in the majority of the games, and really, with a couple breaks here or there, really could have come away from that trip 4-3, and instead we come away with a 1-6 trip, and it was disappointing for everybody. That said, we did finish on a high note, and what I'd like to see is we have an off day today. Hopefully we can regroup and come out and really start playing our best baseball this homestand, because we're at a point in the season where we have to see it start to happen.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the high note, it was pretty amazing what Wyatt Langford did with that cycle. How special was that? And really, that entire month of June for him was incredible.
Yeah, Wyatt, it really speaks to the aptitude the player has and just all the adjustments that he's made. I mean, he had a tremendous spring training, got off to a little bit of a slow start, had the hamstring injury, and was able to take a breather and reset some things, both mentally and mechanically, and physically as well. And he came back and just had a tremendous June. He continues to get better and better. And I really believe he's just scratching the surface of what he's capable of. But last night on Sunday Night Baseball was pretty special. I was so happy for him, happy for all of our guys. It was fun to see the guys celebrate Wyatt, excited for him. I think everybody recognized how special that was, and hopefully it's something that we can build on.
Adolis certainly had a stronger road trip as well. Does it seem like he's starting to turn things around at the plate?
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt the bat quality has improved, and we've seen him mechanically fix a couple things, and his approach has been very, very good. He had some bad luck as well. There were some hard hit balls right at guys on the trip, but he had really, really solid at bats, and it was exciting to see the progress he's made. He's such a competitor. He's such a worker. If we can get Doley going and we have Wyatt going and you get a couple of these other guys going, I love our offense. I love what we're capable of, but obviously it's been a slow start to the season, a slow first half of the season. So really excited about the progress Adolis made, and I'm really hopeful it continues.
Chris, you mentioned the road trip, and then in Baltimore, the 4 games, and other than the first game, the other 3 games, as a general manager, do you evaluate where your team is at? With Baltimore being one of the better teams in baseball, do you feel like, okay, we're a little bit closer to where we need to be? I know you didn't get the wins and stuff, but do you kind of feel like your roster is like, okay, when I play these guys here in a couple weeks after the All-Star break, maybe we could be a little bit different here?
Yeah, that's the frustrating part of our record, is because I don't think it reflects really the talent level of this team. I mean, I believe this team and this roster is capable of really making a strong playoff push and being one of the better teams in baseball. And we have yet to do that. We have not played our best baseball for a number of reasons, whether it's been injury related, performance related, or just timing, that we haven't aligned, our hot streak with the pitching, the hitting, the bullpen all going well at once. So I do believe in this group. I know the character of the team. I know how hard these guys work. I know how badly they want it. I know that when their backs have been up against the wall in the past, they have responded. And so I have a lot of faith in this group. That said, it just hasn't aligned thus far in the season. And when you play a team like Baltimore, who is a first-place team or near the top of the standings, one of the better teams in the American League, and we go toe-to-toe with them, and we really could have won 3 of those 4 games. Yep. It shows you how good this roster is. It shows you how close we are. But we just haven't, for whatever reason, put it together in the manner that we expect. Now, is it too late? No, it's not. But we are reaching a critical point in the season where it needs to start coming together quickly. And, I'm excited about the way we finished last night, and I'm really hopeful and optimistic that we start to play our best baseball, because when we do, this team can go on a tear.
With that belief and how good that we've seen this group of players play together, would that be safe to say as we get closer to the deadline that you are not in a place to be sellers?
Well, we're absolutely not committed to that at this point. Obviously, things could change, and the record will dictate that. But right now, I believe in this group, and I believe that we're about to get hot. And we'll see how the next 20, 25 games go as we get into July here, at which point we may be forced to make some critical decisions. But I really believe that our best baseball is ahead of us, and I'm going to do everything I can to continue to pursue the 2024 season and give this team every chance to win.
Is that the worst question we ask, or the hash brown one every week to you? Is that
Look,
yeah? I mean, you got to get
hash brown question. I'm not prepared for it.
Yeah.
I was prepared for that one today. I mean, that's the reality of where we are.
No, I just wonder, as a general manager, I mean, yeah, obviously you're going to do what's best for your team. Every day you do what's best. You show up every day and do that. Is that a hard question to answer though, Chris? Is it when someone asks you, "Hey, are you going to be buyers or sellers?" Is that a hard question, or is it something that we're to that point? Is something you have to think about?
It's a really hard question, and the reason it's hard is because I love our group. I love our players. I believe if this was a 300-game season that we would come out on top over the course of that, but it's not. And there's an arbitrary date at which we have to make critical business decisions, and that's the reality of the industry. And it's hard because last year was great in that we played our best baseball coming out of the gates, and we knew we were a really good team and we can compete with anybody. We just haven't seen that yet this year. I know it's in there. I believe in this team, and I know what they're capable of. And I told them as much. I told them that on the road last week in Baltimore, and I want to see this team get hot together. But the reality is that at a certain point in the season, you have to make decisions about the future of the team and the season, and that's the part that stinks about the job. But it's the reality of it, and that's why I get paid what I do to make those decisions.
It's the CY Show, brought to you by PlayScore and Anheuser-Busch here in the GBag Nation. Tyler Malley being designated there for the rehab assignment. What's the timeline for him? What would you like to see from him before you get him up with the big boys?
Well, it's one start at a time. I mean, he's recovered very well. He's passed all the tests thus far, and we'll send him out on rehab and take it one start at a time. And with these rehabs, they're normally not linear in terms of the progress you make. Some days you have, a couple good outings or a good outing followed by a subpar one, and you think you've gone backwards, and all of a sudden you look up and you've pushed through that next wall or barrier as you build up your arm strength. So Tyler's got a little ways to go here, but he, like I said, he's done a tremendous job. He works so hard. He's such a great guy. And I know it's just a matter of time till he gets back, but do we expect this to go 100% perfect according to plan? Probably not. In terms of just the way, he's not going to be midseason form. It's going to take some time. He's been out of the game for a while, rehabbing, but we know that these are the necessary steps you have to go through, the bumps in the road, to get back to full strength. And we expect Tyler to do as well as possible in terms of getting back. And, what that timeline will be, I can't say, but the next month is going to be fun to follow him.
How's Corey feeling, and are there any updates to Josh Young's timeline?
Yeah, with Corey, we got good news today. That Corey underwent an MRI this morning, and it did not reveal any further damage, which confirmed what we saw in the X-ray. Sometimes the X-rays give you, an okay view, and then the MRI shows something different. In this case, they align. So this is going to be hopefully a matter of days for Corey, based on pain and swelling and his ability to kind of return without pain. So we've dodged a bullet on that. With Josh, we're still evaluating. Obviously, he worked super hard to get back, was playing in rehab games because his strength was not fully built up, and it wasn't possible to build it up. I mean, part of that is just the rehab timeline, but it redistributed some of the pressure from the surgical spot a little bit up into his wrist and irritated a tendon there. And that tendon has not calmed down completely to the level that we feel comfortable sending him back out or resuming baseball activities. So our hope is that within a couple days he turns a corner here. We took the weekend off from baseball activity. We hope it turns a corner here. I can't predict the timeline. We desperately need him. We're excited that he's close to being back. I don't think he'll need much more time on rehab once that thing calms down, but we're not there yet.
Chris, is it hard to protect these guys from themselves when it comes to working out? I mean, I know that in watching like Dak Prescott coming back from his injury, and they just work so hard with the trainers and to try and get back and rehab. Is it one of those things where you almost have to you're happy they're working hard, but you're almost having to protect themselves from working too hard at it?
No, it's 100% right. I mean, I always say these guys are just the best of the best, and they're successful not because of their talent level, but because of their drive and their work ethic and their commitment and their toughness. And sometimes that it cuts both ways. And I experienced that in my career too. I wasn't talented enough to really stick in the big leagues without an elite work ethic. And sometimes, whether it was the work ethic or really a high threshold for pain, I made my body worse at times because I pushed through things where I should have backed off. And so we have to really thread that needle of allowing the athlete the freedom to be able to dictate what their level is to perform, but also stepping in when we feel like it's crossing a line that's going to be past the point of diminishing return. And that's a really hard thing to do. And, we also joke in our scouting department that there's a sixth tool that a lot of these athletes have, which is called delusion.
Yeah.
And what's great is that they think that they can fight through anything or persevere through anything. And sometimes they lose sight of how hard the game is when you're healthy, much less when you're hurt. So it is our job to kind of step in from time to time and protect them from themselves. But I'll tell you this, I said this last year about our group. It was the most professional, hardworking group I've ever been around in my career. And I feel the same about this group. It's just amazing, the focus and dedication and the work ethic that these guys have, top to bottom. And it's what makes them great. It also at times is where we have to kind of manage it.
Rangers GM Chris Young with us here in the GBag Nation. I mean, Wyatt Langford's the headliner after last night's game. Derek Hill as well. But, I mean, my goodness, how about the defensive prowess of Josh Smith? That play last night at the bottom of the fifth, that thing was nasty. We got to get this guy in the All-Star game, CY.
Look, I think he's deserving as anybody. Josh has had a tremendous first half. It's been so fun to watch him. We didn't know what to expect coming into spring training. We knew he'd likely be on the team. We didn't know the role that he would have. We thought probably more of a utility role. Playing 2 to 3, maybe 4 days a week. And instead he stepped in. He's been an everyday player. He's been our most productive offensive player in the first half. And he's tough as nails. I mean, if you guys watch the game, he's a smaller guy, but he really plays so hard and so tough. He gets hit, feels like once a game, if not every other at bat.
He sure does.
Yet he takes his base and he just goes out and grinds. And he is really, really, he embodies, what we want in all of our players. And, he's as deserving as anybody. I would love to see him get in the game.
Hey, see why it's that LSU kid. You need more of them on your roster. You know what I'm saying? Just go down to Baton Rouge and sign them all up, and then you won't have to worry about your team anymore, right?
Those LSU guys have had a pretty good track record.
Very gritty.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, see why we got the 4th of July coming up this week, and you've got a home game. And to me, growing up, I was always watching The Sandlot, and they've got the scene where the fireworks are allowing them just enough light to be able to play. And baseball, to me, and the 4th of July just kind of go hand in hand. How special was it for you to maybe get to play on the 4th of July, but just in general getting to play that day?
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of the things as baseball players, you get very few off days during the course of the season. And really you play every holiday because when fans have holidays and are off, that means that they can come to our games and it's our job to entertain. And so I did. I remember a couple 4th of July starts that I had, and it was really special. It's a fun environment. It's a fun atmosphere. And my hope is that for all the Ranger fans that come out to see us, that we give them a great 4th of July and a win and that this team gets rolling here.
Hey, CY, I was watching Lorenzen pitch the other day in Baltimore. Did his jersey look like it weighed about 30 pounds, like with the sweat? I just wondered as a player, and is it something as a pitcher? Do they often change? I mean, I know you change your undershirts probably, but do you ever change your top when you're in those kinds of late season, not late season, but mid-season games?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple jerseys ready on those hot, humid days, whether I was fishing in Texas or Kansas City. I mean, I think the most I ever went through in a game was 3.
Yeah.
But those, and I saw the same thing. I mean, his jersey, it was almost a different shade.
It was,
gray than his pants because he was so saturated. And, maybe the technology's gotten so good with this moisture-wicking fiber that it absorbs all the moisture off your body. But, Michael, he did a really good job. That was a frustrating loss because it was one bad pitch that Kierstead hit out, and we hit a couple line drives right at guys, including off Kimbrel in the 9th, and just a frustrating way to lose the game when we kind of outplayed them, but they came through with a big hit and we didn't. So that's baseball, and that's why you play so many games. But I hated for our guys who are really pressing right now and wanting so badly to turn this thing, and they're capable of it, to lose a couple close one-run games in Baltimore to a really good team. Yeah. I think, as you said earlier, it gave us an idea of where we are. It also shows us that it's the little things that matter, and we got to find a way just to be a little bit better. And if we do that, we'll start beating a lot of teams. But, Michael did a great job the other night, despite the heat, humidity, and the sweat in his jersey.
Right.
Hey, you're home for July 4th. I got Chris Young, Pizza Dog, Collision Course, doing it, like a true American patriot that you are. It's going to be fantastic. Go get him this week. We're pulling for you. We look forward to next week and our conversation. Thank you, CY.
Guys, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you soon.